Genetic engineering is becoming more and more prevalent in today's society. Today what we're going to learn is better understanding genetic engineering and how to vote ethically and morally when it comes time to vote about all the decisions they're going to be making in genetic engineering. What genetic engineering is, basically what they do is they go into the DNA of an organism and they extract certain parts of the DNA. What then they do after that is they put in new DNA, and it's going to give the organism different characteristics that we're going to like. So what are some of the good things about genetic engineering? Well, one of the good things are that we can control diseases. What we can do is we can take organisms and genetically engineer them to be more resistant towards diseases, such as mosquitoes with the Zika virus. What we can do is we take them out of the population and we genetically engineer them to be more resistant. When we put them back in, they will reproduce and throughout the generations become more and more resistant to different diseases. Another thing we can do is cure cancer. We can use HIV to actually kill cancer cells. What we do with that is we take the RNA out of the virus. This disallows the virus to reproduce. Then what we do is we inject it into the human, and it will kill all the cancer cells selectively. And it's a lot better than chemo because chemo actually kills all cells, so it's more of a crapshoot. We can also genetically modify plants. Genetically modifying plants will help alleviate some of the stresses of world hunger and make food a lot cheaper. One of the major problems we're having in Africa right now is that there's not a lot of food and the land lays barren. What we can do with GMOs is we can construct GMOs that will grow with less water and produce more food. Now, what are some of the bad things? It can potentially be disastrous. What it can do is we can actually destroy an entire organism or an ecosystem by genetic engineering. If we make an incredibly invasive species, which is a species that competes very competitively with other organisms, we can actually get rid of an entire organism. This can lead to deforestation, the extinction of a certain organism, and we can even destroy ourselves with it. If we destroy food sources or even destroy entire forests, we can help speed up global warming. It can be used as a weapon. With terrorism at a rise, they can use it for creating a super virus or poisoning our food. As it becomes easier and easier to genetically engineer things, terrorists are taking that and battling and using it against us. GMOs can also create pesticides. This can hurt surrounding ecosystems. One of the quotes from SciShow, Hank Green, said, "Traits we are using in plants can have an even more dire effect. If we are engineering an insect repellent plant, an insect-resistant plant, we have to make sure that it's not hurting other insects that we do like, such as bees and butterflies." Hank Green from SciShow. He's basically saying that it's killing off the bees, and with further study, we actually see that bees have been greatly reducing since we started genetically engineering plants. One of the main attributors to this is Home Depot for actually releasing insect-resistant plants that kill any bugs that like it, such as the good bugs, such as pollinators. And it can also be cancerous. Pesticides are carcinogenic, and when ingested by humans, it can have bad effects such as cancer and other fatal illnesses. And the future of genetic engineering. In the future, we plan to start waste management programs such as plastic decaying fungus and garbage decaying bacteria. So what we can do, we actually have this now, the starts of it at least. We have a fungus that's going to greatly increase the decay rate of plastics. This will help get rid of a lot of our garbage because plastics don't break down fast. They actually break down slowly and is a great attributor to garbage. We can also solve fuel and energy problems. What we're working on now is photosynthetic bacteria that can create electricity. Kind of like a solar panel, these bacteria, when emitted light, they will produce electricity that we can then harness and use to power our homes and other appliances. We can also create bacteria that create fuel. A few years ago, a high school student actually did this. He took an algae and he selectively bred it so that the algae would give off a biofuel that we then could burn and use to power cars and different motor vehicles. And terraforming planets. In the future, you're hearing a lot more of colonizing the moon and colonizing Mars, but we really don't see much of that happening. Well, now we're going to start creating atmospheres in other planets. We're going to do this by taking bacteria and genetically engineering them so they'll emit gases that are take in gases that are harmful to us and emit gases that are going to create a healthy and rich atmosphere. It will also get the soil ready for plants, and it can also purify water, two of the huge things that are going to attribute to life on another planet. So to review, genetic engineering could really go both ways. Either way, it's here to stay. Some of the good things is that it can control diseases, cure cancer, and we can also genetically modify foods with it, alleviating some of the world hunger problems. Some of the bad things are that it can be disastrous, destroying ecosystems and hurting different populations of organisms. GMOs can also create pesticides, which are carcinogenic and harmful to humans and other insects. The future. We will be able to control waste management, solve energy issues, and terraform planets. So whether you look at it as a good or a bad thing, genetic engineering is here to stay. And we have to look at it as an ethical and moral decision of whether we should keep pushing on. Any questions?
How far in the future do you see this happening, all these things that you mentioned?
Some of them are actually happening now, such as controlling insect populations and GMOs. You actually can't go to the food store without seeing a GMO. And another question?
Well, you mentioned it cures cancer. Do you see it curing other things such as Alzheimer's, lupus, diabetes?
I'm sure they're planning for things in the works, but one of the main things that we can also do with genetic engineering isn't just genetic engineering other organisms to get rid of those things. We can also genetic engineer ourselves to be more resistant to those diseases.